hush, please, while we're shooting.
Action!
I don't know about you, but I look at everyone I pass on the street. Their faces, the clothes they wear, the way they walk. I even look at what they're thinking. I can't see it, of course, but somehow I just know. And what I don't know, I make up. Well, that's what writers do, isn't it?
For most writers, getting a play onto the Broadway stage could well be the reward for a lifetime of work. Yet during the 1966-67 New York theater season, one playwright had 4 plays running simultaneously. They came from the pen of America's most celebrated playwright, Neil Simon. For one man to have 4 plays on Broadway at the same time is almost unthinkable. But in this case, it's exactly what you'd expect. Born in New York in 1927, Neil Simon began his legendary career in the 1950s as a comedy writer, along with Mel Brooks and Larry Gelbart, on one of television's pioneer runaway hits, Sid Caesar's Show of Shows. His first play, Come Blow Your Horn, opened on Broadway in 1961 and was followed in 1963 by the smash hit Barefoot in the Park, which catapulted Simon into the top circle of the American theater. In 1965, The Odd Couple brought Neil Simon his first Tony Award and gave stars Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon the opportunity to grouse about as grumpy old men and earn a healthy paycheck well into the 1990s. Today, after 28 plays, 4 Tony Awards, 2 Emmys, a Pulitzer Prize, and more hits than anyone else in the history of the American theater, Neil Simon is in a class all by himself. But it's not the awards that have packed the high-priced houses of Broadway for more than 30 years. It's the living characters whose worlds are so engrossing, whose life fabric is so real for us.
Action!
Who bear the unmistakable stamp of Neil Simon's genius and draw us to his work like kids to a Saturday matinee.
Easy now. Now look, don't tell me what to do. If you want to know the truth, I'm 10 times funnier than you.
In your dreams.
In my dreams, I'm 20 times funnier. In my dreams, you're not even here.
Well, when you wake up, come back, I'll talk to you.
In fact, more of Neil Simon's plays have been adapted to film than any other playwright's, and he has written nearly a dozen original film comedies. In April of 1995, weary of Hollywood, Simon teamed with Hallmark Entertainment and executive producer Robert Holme Sr. to bring at least 6 projects, including one original, to television.
Everything writes, even when you cry, it's funny. He has this unique ability to mix laughter with crying, and he plays with your emotions. In one minute you are laughing, the other minute you're crying, and it all comes from his own life, so you can relate to it. This is not fantasy. This can happen to anybody.
Television audiences have been treated to 3 very special excursions with the Hallmark productions of Simon's Broadway hits, The Sunshine Boys, Jake's Women, and London Suite.
Number one, working with Neil Simon is as good as it can get. He's fun to have around. He's great on the set because Neil doesn't try to direct. He doesn't try to take over. He will, whenever, ask him for a line or something, or if you ask for his opinion, it's always done with the greatest grace. And this is the type of collaboration every comedy director wants.
God! No, dear. Oh! Where are you? I need you. Oh, I want you. I yearn for you. I'm aching for you. I would do anything for you, Paul.
For these films, Simon exercises a bit of theater craft that few writers ever have the freedom to attempt.
Once you turn it into a movie, whether it's a feature film or it's for television, it's the same thing. It's a film now, and I start from page 1 knowing that this is a film, but it's wonderful when you know you have the actors. So I wrote a completely original one for Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and the others just open up into just more visual and more exciting scenes.
My back.
I have, in car jargon, I have a blower on my vehicle now with Neil Simon here. I'm already going pretty good. And then I've got Neil here. So I'm like, you know.
Many of Simon's strongest characters and most deeply touching scenes come directly from his own life.
Jake, she's having trouble with it. Help her to accept it. Oh, Molly, I'm sorry.
All right, I didn't think this out. Let me start over.
No, it's all right.
In Jake's Women, Jake, a writer, played by Alan Alda, arranges in his imagination to have his deceased wife meet their 21-year-old daughter, who had to grow up without her mother.
Hello, Mom.
Haven't we all done this? Who hasn't thought about what it would be like to speak to a father or a mother who died 5 or 20 years ago? Would your mother still be proud of you? Would you still be your father's little girl? We've all played out that scene.
Neil Simon's first wife died when their daughter was 10. His desire to create this one scene led to the writing of Jake's Women.
I just never knew where you went to.
In Jake's story, we confront some of the problems a writer encounters when the critical mass of the characters in his mind becomes so great that they create some very uncomfortable, if not downright dangerous situations.
Edith, I am so tired of your fortune cookie wisdom. Have you ever actually cured anyone?
Analysis doesn't cure you. It just makes you feel better between sessions.
To go along with his vast dramatic and literary skills, Neil Simon has a unique first-hand connection with New York show business that goes back to the late 1940s. In The Sunshine Boys, he gives us a poignant and humorous insider's look at the combative relationship between two aging New York comedy legends. Neil Simon's unique presence as an artist reaches across half a century and around the world. And he is still going strong.
I think it's so important for the writer to be around and never realizing that in most films the writer isn't there for some strange reason. Some directors don't want them around. Some writers don't want to go unless they're getting paid extra. I'm there to protect my work and also for the fun of it, the sheer fun of it.
For this edition of Hallmark Portraits, the actors who bring Neil Simon's exquisite characters to life for us get the last word.
I so adore him. I get a little giddy about it because he's just, you know, you want him around you forever.
So many people don't. I don't know why. They feel self-conscious about the writer being there. Especially with the writer with the facility that Neil has, I'm flattered that he's here. I'm delighted that he's here, and I'm quite selfish about it. I definitely want some input from him.
Neil Simon is a very important writer for American humor, of American humor. He mixes the serious in with the humor, and you don't even realize it.
Neil's right there with his tablet open, just rewriting some of the lines, and then he'll slip you a better line than you had before. And so it's a great creative process at work here, and there's Neil Simon. It's terrific. That's why I wanted to do this project, of course.
With getting to say Neil Simon's delicious words and his sense of humor and his world, which is really a great honor to be in.
Neil's stuff is so good that you could be the worst actor in the world and say his lines standing on your head and mumble them, and they'll still come out funny because the man is a genius, and he literally does 95% of the work for you.
Can you help me out? I gotta get to the hospital. My wife is very sick.
I'm busy. Take a cab.
I can't find one. Come on, she's just been operated on. Look, I'll give you anything you want. Please, anything.
All right, come on, get in. Where's the hospital?
I'll tell you what, I had to stop at Geppetto's restaurant first, 84th and 3rd.
In a medium that bends easily to the lowest common denominator, Neil Simon's compassionate world, rich with language, humor, and the vitality of real people, is fresh air for the spirit. One final question. How would you describe a Neil Simon signature comedy?
have no idea what a Neil Simon's signature comedy is. I mean, you could say it's The Odd Couple, and because I deal with families or familial situations so often, but then I go off and do The Seems Like Old Times or Murder by Death or The Goodbye Girl, which is quite different. So I've always tried to mix up my style. So I have many signatures, I think. A lot of them are forged, too.
Neil Simon. The signature may be forged, but no doubt about it, the talent is genuine.